we'll be doing excerpts from A.J. Langguth's novel Jesus Christ. That's Jesus Christ, plural. The novel is a smorgasbord of shorts from one-liners to multi-thousand-word short stories, derived from questions and experiences of the late 60s and early 70s. The author frames his issues, sometimes subtly and sometimes in an obvious way. The common thread is that his themes play out in a context involving a Jesus Christ character depicted in numerous cultures around the world, wherein he interacts with his disciples and others during various time periods throughout recorded history. Besides the to be expected social commentary, there's humor, interesting life and death perspectives, many with surprising, unexpected conclusions. From my paperback copy of 227 pages, I counted 108 stories or vignettes, also what I'm calling offerings. We'll open episode 1 with the novel's first vignette and what I've called a very brief dialogue narrative.
I have come to die for your sins.
Jesus told a stooped figure passing him on the road.
Then what am I to die for?
The old man asked. Jesus took a small notebook from his pocket and copied the question.
If I may have your name and address,
He said.
and an answer will be sent to you.
Completes this narrative, and we will now continue with the second. And that's simply called a story.
Carefully,
He warned them in a weak voice.
don't drop me.
A stone turned under James' foot.
Quiet.
Christ whispered.
Can't you be quiet? We'll have the whole regiment back here.
They laid him gently by the mouth of the cave. James said,
I don't feel much like wrestling that stone again.
It would be awfully nice
This came from Thomas.
if someone we knew would consider it a good time for a miracle and let some angel swing the rock back.
Christ grunted.
Get to work. It's not heavy, but quietly.
Far be it from me to complain,
Thomas drawled.
but I've been around a long time, and I've never seen one of those miracles we all hear so much about. Did any of you actually talk to Lazarus after his amazing recovery?
Christ smiled with the others.
You've missed nothing, Thomas. You wouldn't have found him lively at any time.
Thomas was distinguished for his round belly, quivering big nose, and nearsighted squint. He was a man counted in because he would have been so wretched if he had been left out. When they were alone, Peter said to Jesus,
You have the whole of tomorrow ahead of you. Have you decided how to spend it?
I would like to be alone. Afterward, there may not be much chance.
Of the things you might have asked, that will be the hardest. They are all clamoring to see you.
I'll go to the desert. You can tell them I am recovering my strength.
If you could appear for a moment later in the day and speak a word or two.
I'd spend all morning fretting over what to say and all evening wishing I'd spoken differently. Permit me one day, Peter.
As you say.
It's no pleasure winning an argument with you, my friend. I always lose in the turned down corners of your mouth. Let me be self-indulgent tomorrow. My guilt will make me all the more diligent the day after.
Of course.
When we recast the world, everyone will be given your smile.
Will you stay with us tonight?
No, I'll leave while it's still dark. I am a thief and must travel like one.
What have you stolen?
A body, my body. I am a grave robber, though not so grave as you would like.
I have no complaint.
For that I am grateful today, as I have been for 3 fine years. On this one day I can be sentimental, can I not? That should be a prerogative. That should be a prerogative of the dead.
Do you have pain?
I ache. I felt faint, but the air has cured me. I must go.
Christ dragged himself slowly from the cave so that the others would not see him leave. When he was out of sight of the camp, he was tempted to rest, but he kept lifting one heavy leg and then the other. He stumbled 2 miles across the sand before he fainted. When he recovered, dawn had begun to lighten the darkness. He lay on one heavy yellow blanket, and another blanket covered him. Someone, a man, sat beside him, shivering in the cold air. This man leaned forward and pushed his fat, pink face in front of Christ's.
Ah, you are finally awake then. I thought you were a late bloomer, one of those men who sleep past midday.
Christ turned away his head to yawn.
Ah, I'm sorry. I had a strenuous day yesterday.
You ask for sympathy?
The man spoke reflectively.
I have given you my blankets and my protection, and now you seek my pity as well?
I was trying.
The man waved him down.
Trying is a dreadful habit. So often it leads to success.
Christ said,
I believe there's an adage to that effect.
You are a wit.
the fat man said amiably.
How fortunate for me to happen upon so rare a phenomena. You are not, however, a dandy.
Christ plucked at his frayed robe and regretted the gesture.
I've never been much concerned with my clothes.
A mistake, if you will permit me to say so. Clothing is our chief disguise, and it should be a good one.
Christ propped himself on an elbow to look around. His companion wore a pink tunic trimmed with silks of rose and burgundy. Gold bracelets shone at his wrists and ankles, and the curls on his head were tied with purple bows.
I'm afraid my work
Christ said,
would not permit me such.
Magnificence? I suppose I am fortunate, unique. In that regard, my work demands it.
And that work?
I am a leader of men.
he answered with a smirk.
It is not an enviable role.
Christ said,
It suits me. What do you do?
I am a carpenter.
How useful. What do you make?
I recently laid a foundation which I trust will prove serviceable.
Do you know what I need? I need a throne. I have one at home with armrests, but I've been putting on so much weight lately that I must practically grease myself to sit down.
Perhaps we should make chairs we can make tables, with an expandable leaf at the center.
You are a clever carpenter.
His tone warned Christ to hold to his station.
No, only a poor fool lost in the desert.
Why, then you can come with me.
A crescent smile lit his moon face.
We always have room for another.
Ah, Christ thought, I am very slow. My mind has never been quick, and I'm tired this morning. But now I understand. I recognize you now,
Where do you come from?
Christ asked.
Over there.
He gestured vaguely.
It's really very charming.
I'm sure it must be.
To himself, Christ added, what did you expect? Did you think he would have cloven feet, or that he would insult and revile you, or that he would spring from a crevice in the earth?
Would you like to go now?
Christ found himself more fearful than he had expected.
I'm a little tired. If we could rest for another minute.
Whatever you like. I could wipe your brow.
No, please. Thank you.
They sat together quietly, the fat man beaming at Christ, his smile saying, we shall play for a little while that you are sick or small, and that I am caring for you.
The sun seems unusually strong for so early an hour,
The fat man said, mopping his own brow with a white lace handkerchief.
The weather of late has been very strange.
Christ agreed.
Perhaps it's the tomb.
Tomb?
Christ asked.
Oh,
The other said slyly.
I understand that a tomb was opened yesterday. Imagine all that dank air rushing out. It probably upset the atmospheric balance.
I know little about such things.
No,
The fat man leered at him.
I forgot. You're a carpenter.
Yes.
Of course.
Christ broached a new topic.
Who leads the men when you are in the desert?
Ah, we have a detailed chain of command and a wealth of talent to draw upon.
Still, you are probably anxious to get back. If so, I could rest here and join you later.
That's not exactly the bargain, is it?
Christ decided not to pretend that he didn't understand.
No,
We'll wait here until you feel better. There's no hurry.
no hurry.
The heat was beginning to weigh on Christ. He felt as though a hand were pressing his head toward the earth. I'm not good at this, he thought. I can be strong and forthright and sometimes playful with the men, but I'm not trained for this tiresome cut and thrust. I had assumed he would be serious,
I suppose
the fat man said.
you've worked out some kind of rationale for your existence.
Christ had no words. The other bowed elaborately.
As a carpenter,
Have you?
one does the best one can. One does not choose one's role.
They both fell silent. As minutes passed, Christ shook his head and wondered if he had been dozing. Across from him, his broad face glistening with sweat, the fat man was dusting flies from the rims of his ears. While they sat without speaking, a cloud of sand blew up on the edge of the desert.
Someone seems to be coming from my camp.
The fat man said.
Your camp?
Oh, yes, over there. We keep pretty much to ourselves. You understand.
Christ nodded. A man came running toward them, apparently with some message. He staggered forward, almost falling from exhaustion.
Christ!
Oh, sorry.
Christ!
Christ rose and started toward him, for he saw that the messenger had been addressing the other man. The fat man saw Christ's response to the cry, and his belly shook with laughter.
Oh, no,
He exclaimed,
not you too, not you, on the other side of the desert?
Yes.
said Christ, confused.
And all this time,
The fat man said, wheezing and wiping tears of laughter from his eyes.
I thought you were the devil.
That completes this story. We'll conclude with the third and today's final entry entitled, A Wish is Granted.
God seldom rewarded Jesus. Only on occasion when an assignment had been especially well handled, or when Jesus' spirit had fallen low, would God grant him a boon. One such moment came at the banks of the Jordan after Jesus confronted and subdued some of the Baptists' fanatical associates.
What do you wish?
God asked at midnight when everyone was asleep on mats under the black sky.
I want to penetrate the darkness. I want to see what lies behind the night.
You will be disappointed.
I am not so young that I expect majesties or glory. I only want to part the curtain and let it fall closed again. I expect nothing.
Your wish is granted. But you
God said.
cannot thrust your hand through darkness as though it were the velvet drapery across a stage. You must peel the night, and the task is long.
How do I begin?
Reach up your fingers and touch the air. Pull gently.
Jesus followed his instructions. A layer of film, translucent and weightless, settled over the camp.
Again.
Jesus pulled away another layer and watched it fall across the earth. He took another, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth before he stopped to inspect his work.
The night is no lighter. I can only pull away bands of radiance, and I am not touching the darkness.
Blackness is one bright film laid on many others.
How many others? Millions?
I have not counted.
So you are also the darkness if we are patient enough to persist.
And you are disappointed after all.
I hope to learn a single gesture.
A more dramatic way.
Instead, you ask for patience that must end in failure.
What do you have to do that is more important?
Nothing.
Reach again and stop your counting. The failure ends when you give up the count.
That completes this story.
And this completes our evening with